One of the most effective weapons in modern land warfare is the missile-armed attack helicopter. From the sleek American Apache, to the innovative South African Rooivalk, to the high-tech European Tiger, these military machines deliver awe-inspiring performance and deadly firepower to frontline forces around the world. Attack helicopters bridge the gap between armored vehicles and jet strike aircraft. They have greater mobility and speed than armored vehicles, but lack their armor protection. They are not as fast or powerful as strike aircraft, but their rotor propulsion allows them to be operated from the forward edge of the battlefield. The development of the attack helicopter began during the Vietnam War. Their UH-1 Hueys were rigged with machine guns and rocket launchers to escort troop-carrying helicopters into battle. Unfortunately, the Huey's relatively slow speed and bulky design made them vulnerable to ground fire. By redesigning the fuselage and augmenting its firepower, its effectiveness in the attack role could be considerably increased. This led to the Cobra. The Cobra pioneered the classic attack helicopter design. In the forward cockpit is the co-pilot gunner, and in the rear cockpit is the pilot. This tandem configuration produces a sleeker fuselage than conventional transport helicopters, permitting greater speed and aerodynamic performance. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Iron Curtain, the Soviets began developing their own attack helicopter, the Mi-24 Hind. It was not only a formidable attack chopper capable of 170 miles per hour, but also large enough to carry 8 troops. It could even drop bombs, a unique ability even among the latest attack helicopters. After the Vietnam War, the development of guided missiles expanded the capabilities of attack helicopters, particularly for the United States. Fitted with anti-tank missiles such as the TOW missile, the Cobra helicopter could now take the lead in attacking enemy armored forces, especially in difficult terrain. As a result, tank hunting became one of their primary missions.
If you're advancing on an enemy with tanks and you run into a river, your progress basically stops unless you've got a river crossing operation ready to be implemented. With the attack helicopter, you don't need to worry about that, and you're capable of going across the river and influencing the battle on the other side of that obstacle until such time as the ground forces can catch up with you.
Precisely toward the target. The Sea Cobra is a Marine variant of the AH-1 Cobra and forms the backbone of Marine attack helicopter units. Due to the different environments from which they operate, the Marine Cobras have different features from their Army counterparts. One of the latest improvements in Marine attack helicopters is the more powerful AH-1W Super Cobra. The Super Cobra can fire either the TOW or the newer Hellfire anti-tank missile. Cobras saw widespread and varied use during Operation Desert Storm in 1991. They've also seen extensive combat in Afghanistan and Iraq. Combat helicopters are generally part of the Army rather than the Air Force. Logistically, this makes them particularly well suited to the dangerous mission of carrying out air support in close proximity to friendly forces.
Weapon. We're integrated into his plan in every way, shape, and form. We know how he thinks. We know how to anticipate where he will best employ us. You don't get that from a close air support aircraft showing up, reporting in on station, and then engaging targets. Having us immediately available gives you the 30-minute string, the on-call capability. It also gives you a great amount of flexibility. With this aircraft, you can conduct surveillance, reconnaissance, armed reconnaissance, a variety of missions. You asked an Air Force pilot to do that, and I don't think you'd get that kind of support.
The 1980s saw the deployment of a second generation of attack helicopters. The premier example of this new class is the Apache. The Apache was specially designed for combat on the modern battlefield. A new generation of weaponry, advanced sensors, and missile guidance gave the Apache unprecedented long-range firepower. The advantages of second-generation attack helicopters, such as the Apache, became obvious in the battles of the First Gulf War.
Its capability to stand off outside the capability of the enemy to see us, number one, and number two, engage us, is just phenomenal. In the case of the Ramallah oil field battle, we started our initial engagements at 6,700 meters out. Those forces never knew who was engaging them. And by the time we took out our fifth or sixth T-72 tank, they generally got the idea that that was not a good place to be, and they left.
At the center of the Apache's weapon systems is the Hellfire missile. The Hellfire is laser-guided rather than wire-guided. Older wire-guided missiles have a maximum range of about 2 miles due to the length of the wire that can be carried. The Hellfire's range is more than double that thanks to its unique guidance system. A laser designator mounted in the nose fires an invisible beam of intense light at the enemy target. The seeker in the head of the Hellfire zeroes in on the laser light being reflected off the target. This longer range is a critical advantage for attack helicopters. By striking from distances over 5 miles away, their vulnerability to enemy defenses is significantly reduced.
The Hellfire missile, I get ranges out in excess of 8 kilometers if I needed. Just like with any kind of battlefield system, I want to use the weapon that keeps me as far away from the bad guy as possible. And if I can hit him at 8 kilometers with my Hellfire, I can stop at 8 kilometers. He can't even see me at 8 kilometers.
In addition to tanks, the Apache is designed to engage a variety of other targets. Under the nose of the helicopter is a 30mm chain gun that can be used against lightly armored vehicles. On the stub wings are unguided rockets for attacking targets with high explosives. Helicopters are large and noisy. To minimize the visibility of the Apache to enemy forces, it was designed to operate at night. The two unusual devices on the nose of the Apache are the Pilot's Night Vision System, or PNVS, and the Target Acquisition and Designation System, or TADS, used to locate targets and aim its weapons.
The majority of the weapon systems are sighted through the TAD system, which is mounted on the nose of the aircraft. That is basically controlled with the thumb force controller. The Hellfire missiles are sighted through that primarily, either with the laser designator through this aircraft or another aircraft.
Both the nose-mounted sensors contain forward-looking infrared sights, or FLIR. The supercooled sensor of the FLIR senses heat. It can detect a few degrees of temperature difference between objects, making it an ideal night sight.